How do Lovecraft fans and scholars respond or deal with the fact that the man was a racist, anti-Semite, etc.? How do you come to terms with that? Okay, first of all, from a scholar perspective, I only know really about S.T. Joshi's opinion. Basically, Joshi is very like, okay, he was a racist, yes, it's a bad thing, but let's not crucify the man because of it. You can read his articles about what he said about when they took the World Fantasy Award and they replaced his Lovecraft's likeness with something else because some black authors got triggered.
I'm triggered.
So, even Joshi, he's an Indian guy, and then Lovecraft, he said some pretty nasty things about Indians, yet Joshi doesn't feel the need to like vilify and crucify the guy. And that is exactly my opinion. I don't feel anything negative about Lovecraft just because he was a racist. I mean, just because you like the guy, it doesn't mean you have to agree with everything he says. You know, you can still be friends with him. But in this era when we have identity politics, where, you know, everyone is supposed to think alike if you come from one identity group. It's like these Black Lives Matter activists. If you're black but you don't agree with them, they're like, oh, how can you be like that? You know, you have to side with us. And it's the same with feminists. If you find a woman who's anti-feminist, like Lauren Southern or something like that, and then the feminists will say, oh, you have internalized misogyny, how can you be against women, you know? So in that kind of way, I'm the opposite. I don't give a shit if the guy was racist. It doesn't mean I have to be a racist to like him, or that I have to hate him because he was a racist. You know, I can have my opinions about race and anti-Semitism, and then he can have his own, but we can still have things in common that we like about each other. And I think if I met Lovecraft in reality, I would really get along well with him, you know. What is your favorite Cthulhu mythos? What is your favorite Cthulhu mythos god or elder being? My favorite one would actually just have to be Azathoth. Cthulhu is cool, but Azathoth, I find it very mysterious. It's like this core. It is so far away from Earth, but everything revolves around it, right? Cthulhu, he's still on Earth, right? He's chilling there in Arlia. You got the deep ones, they're also running around. The elder things, they're also on Earth. The Migo, they're also running around on Earth in the hills of Vermont and stuff like that. But Azathoth, it's so far away that there's no way we can contact it, but it is the most powerful being of all, and everything revolves around it. It's like this massive black hole, and black holes are something that terrify me. I'm really scared of black holes, not like holes in the ground, but like the space ones. I mean, just the concept that absolutely everything can get fucked if a black hole comes into our area, even just our general solar system. It will just end us. So I think Azathoth is really fascinating. It's like this semi-sentient tentacled black hole of destruction. It's just so wow. Can film adequately represent HP Lovecraft type storylines? So many people say no to this, but I think yeah, definitely. I made a video about my top 5 Lovecraftian films, and I think each one is excellent in representing Lovecraftian horror. It's very tricky to do. It's not as easy as doing like a slasher film or a generic zombie film. Definitely not, but it can be done. I think the biggest thing that people complain about, well, not complain, but the biggest criticism of this idea is that how are you going to sort of, I don't know, depict the color out of space? Because in that story, it's shown that this color is unlike anything on Earth. So it's like, hey, can you please imagine a new color? You can't, right? So things like that. Also, so many of these monsters are shown to be like, if you see them, you go nuts. Sort of like at the end of At the Mountains of Madness, one of the characters, he looks out the plane window and he sees something on the mountain, and he just goes bananas. He loses his mind. So, can you imagine anything that's scary that would happen? So I think that's one of the biggest obstacles in making a Lovecraftian film. And for more realistic terms, the biggest obstacle is that I don't think studios are going to spend 100 million making a Lovecraftian film because they won't expect a lot of revenue back. So Lovecraft is kind of screwed in that way. What would you do if you found out that HP Lovecraft's lore existed and so does all the others? Well, fuck. That's the first thing, you know. given what I know about Lovecraft and his universe, right? So now, if I realize that somewhere in the ocean there's Cthulhu, there's also deep ones. In Vermont, you've got the Migo. What would I do? Be very, very fucking depressed. You know that sort of joke where people say, you find out you only have 24 hours to live. What are you gonna do? And then people say, you know, they're gonna get revenge on the people that pissed them off. They're gonna like take out their bank account and just like spend it on hookers and coke.
Can I ask you, if you won all the money, what would you do with it?
Bunch of hookers and cocaine.
I think I would kind of be along those lines. I mean, this thing is, if you live your life and nothing happens, like the deep ones don't decide to make war with humanity, the Migo just sort of leave us alone, Cthulhu doesn't wake up, you can live your life perfectly normal, right? There's no reason to fear. You can live like your 80 years that you're allotted as a human living in a first world country. That's life expectancy, and nothing's going to happen. So you can live your life as if these things don't exist. But the problem is, if these things do come to actually fuck with humanity, then there's a headache. Then that's the time when you start thinking about shotgun mouthwash, you know. But I think in general, I would dedicate myself to finding out more. I think my curiosity would just drive me. So if all this lore existed, I would want to go to America. I'd want to go to Arkham University. I'd want to know more. You know, obviously that's the fate of many Lovecraftian protagonists. They want to find out more. They find it out, they go nuts. But I'm a very curious person by nature, so I think if that all existed, I'd go to Arkham and I'd want to find out as much as possible. Who are the best narrators of HP Lovecraft's work on YouTube? See details. Okay. There's no question. Wayne June. Wayne June is brilliant. I love his work. I'm actually friends with him on Facebook. That's pretty cool. He's like a Lovecraft celebrity. He also did the voice work and narration for that film, for that game, Darkest Dungeon, which is a very, very well-liked Lovecraftian game. So he is really the guy to go to if you want to listen to audiobooks. There's also another YouTube channel that I kind of like, Otis Gyri. I think that's how it's said. Otis Gyri, he does not just Lovecraft narration, but narration of other stories and stuff, and he does very good work in making atmosphere and everything. I'll put a link to Otis Gyri's channel in this video's description. What works of Lovecraft and related authors should one read, and in what order, to best understand and enjoy the mythos? First of all, you're going to pick up a big anthology of Lovecraft, like one of his complete works. I did a video on that one. You just search for complete works on my channel. Then secondly, after you've bought that and read that, because you need to pick up Lovecraft first, you know. The order doesn't matter. You can read them in any order you want, basically. And then secondly, after buying that book, I would suggest you pick up a book called Tales of the Cthulhu Mythos. I also did a review of that book, and that is also on my channel. If you just look around, I did a review. And that book basically includes all the short stories that was made by his friends, his contemporaries of the time. So you have Clark Ashton Smith, Robert E. Hallwood, Frank Belknap Long, August Derleth, Robert Bloch, Fritz Leiber, all these guys. You know, these guys are who contributed the most, besides Lovecraft, to Lovecraftian horror. So you have to find works by them. And again, you can read that in any order, but that book, that anthology, Tales of the Cthulhu Mythos, it all has all those great stories in there, so I would say pick up that book. Let's say that it was revealed to you that you are a Lovecraftian demigod. What god would you choose lineage to, and why? How do you live your life now? Well, okay, first of all, that's fucking great. It's better than being a human in the Lovecraft world anyway. What god do I choose lineage to? Well, I don't really want to have tentacles and shit growing out of me. That's pretty gross, so I would have to say it would have to be something a bit more human. Maybe Nyarlathotep. That would be a good god to choose lineage to. How would I live my life now? I think I would seclude myself from the rest of the world, you know? I don't really want to deal with humanity too much, so I wouldn't be going around terrorizing people. I think I would just choose some sort of secluded forest in the middle of like Eastern Europe or somewhere and just chill there. And maybe I have some cultists. I need some cultists, and they got to be sexy cultists, you know? So I'm talking about like the whole virgin woman angle there. Maybe we would have some orgies and sacrifices, stuff like that, and we would have some barbecues in the forest. Oh my god, I suck as a god. Something like that, yeah. That would be pretty cool, actually. If you've read the story by Robert E. Howard called The Black Stone, which is a very good Lovecraftian story, something along those lines, I think I could go for that. Do you think being similar to HP Lovecraft's Great Old Ones, Outer Gods, and Elder Gods could exist? Well, I'm an atheist, so I don't believe in any gods existing. But I think if there was proof, yeah, sure, why not? Then I would accept them as existing, but thankfully none exist like that. So there's no Cthulhu hiding somewhere on our planet, because that would really spoil the flow of my day. But could they possibly exist? I guess maybe they could. I really don't know.